Hello, welcome to Coding is for You. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 questions that you need to be asking in an interview to figure out whether or not you want to work for them. So remember, an interview is not just about you trying to impress them and trying to get a job. You also want to figure out whether or not you want to work there. I did not do this earlier in my career. I wish I would have, but I've learned over time that I need to start asking questions and I need to take a look around the company before I actually want to work there, because I've had some bad jobs and I'm going to save you so much time and effort right now if you listen to my top 10. Now, before we get into this, I do have to have a disclaimer, because just because you have a top 10 list, I don't want you to go and just ask these questions one by one. You got to do some thinking. You got to figure out what you want and whether or not these are right to ask, because if you ask the wrong question in an interview, they might get the idea that you're lazy or you don't want to work. If you're asking questions about work-life balance, they might get the idea that, oh, well, he doesn't want to work super hard or something. So you have to be careful and use your mental energy and mental skills, not just to blindly ask questions, but to really figure out whether you want to work there without making yourself seem like you are not what you really are, okay? Now, before the interview even starts, you should have a general idea whether or not you even want to work there, what the work is like, the technical challenges, what the job description is. You read all that, maybe you talked to the recruiter. You should have kind of a general idea what you need to talk about and what the job is before you get there. Of course, the interview is very, very important. So remember, the point of a resume is to get you into an interview. The point of an interview is to get you into a job. Remember that. So if you're in the interview situation, you are this close to being hired. That means they're willing to take time to talk to you. They want to hire you. In most cases, they want to hire you. So all you can do at that point is blow it, really. They really want to bring you on. And that's the way I see an interview. When I interview somebody, I both get interviewed and I do interviews. I really want them to succeed. I do. Not all people do, but I do. So what you do in an interview is you're very close to getting the job at that point. Once you're in the door and you're talking to someone, you've actually got the job. It's yours to lose. That's the good news. But what you need to do is figure out whether or not you really want to work there. Okay, your interview with a manager or another developer or something is not the time to talk about money or benefits or time off or work for home. That's not the time to talk about it. You're there to technically figure out whether or not you're a good match, and where that manager's trying to figure out, if you're interviewing with a manager, he's trying to figure out where are you going to fit. Do you have a good personality? Of course, before, I hate to go into this long disclaimer, but of course you're going to wear a suit if you're a guy, you're going to be nice, you're going to get a haircut, your fingernails are going to be clean. All of these things come across in an interview. You're going to have lots of energy. You're going to have a lot of optimism. That's what people are looking for. Not just straight up skills, but a lot of optimism and willing to learn, okay? I will get in the top 10 list in a minute, but all these things go with it. Okay, so you're not going to talk about money. You're going to do that through your agency or through the recruiter or through HR or something. That's to be discussed at a different time. Do not ask about money, 401k, and benefits or anything. You might ask about work from home or something, but keep it very much about the job and how much you really want to work there and how much energy you have. Keep it in that realm, okay? So we're getting to the top 10 list. Do not take this too seriously. Use your own intelligence to decide whether or not you want to ask these questions, but I'm going to give you an idea in a technical IT programmer interview what you should be asking. All right, number 10. These are the things that I ask people generally, so I want to know the feel of the company. First thing I might ask is, also, these usually go at the end of the interview. You'll interview and they'll say, do you have any questions for us? The worst thing you could say is no. Do not say no. Also, keep notes. You want to look like you're interested and take notes, and anytime they say something, yeah. So take notes. Number 10, what kind of source control do you use? Now, this is a technical question, but it will reveal a lot about a company. If they don't use any source control, that's a red flag. Okay, so source control is a way, for those of you who don't know, of you to do coding, and then you can check it in and it will be backed up. And you can do more work and you can check it in and it'll be backed up. It's like a library. It keeps track of your code and its changes. It's a way for you to share code among other developers as well. So when they answer this question, they should have a pretty good answer. Oh, well, we use TFS, or we use Bitbucket, or we use Git, and they should have a good answer. We have controls in place. If they have no answer, then you know you're dealing with that shot that's kind of Wild West, and that might not be bad, but you need to know what you're getting into. If you know how they handle their source control, that gives you an idea of how structured they are. You might even ask something like, do you do peer reviews? Do you do code reviews? So the way they handle their code tells you a lot about that company. Okay, so that leads me to number 9. Ask them, how do they test their code? How do you know when you've done something that it's good? Do they have testers? Who does the testing? So you do the development, you check it in, you say it's good, but who says it's really good? Who's the person that does the testing? Who signs off on it? Who makes sure your code is good? In a small shop, the answer might be nobody. The answer might be you do. The answer also might be we have a team of QA specialists. That's all they do all day long is they test code and make sure it's good. And if it's not good, they'll send it back to you. So you need to know. This also will tell you how well structured the shop is or the company is. If they don't test their code, they're probably not well structured, and that will be up to you. Again, that's not a bad thing, but you need to know that going in. Number 8. This is a good question. And you remember, you don't have to ask these in order, but this is a question I almost always ask. I say, what's a common day like here? What is it like when I start? What's it going to be like? And I want to know kind of what the feel is. Are you in meetings all day? Is it head down coding? Are you talking to lots of people? Are you collaborating? Are you walking around gathering requirements? Are you just coding constantly? What's the feel like? What's your day-to-day like? How much coding do you do versus analysis and planning? Is it agile? That kind of gives you a feeling like that puts the pressure on them to tell you what a day-to-day thing is like, to give you an idea. All of these things start to build a picture of what it will be like to work there. Number 7. Often I will ask about training. Do they offer training? It just depends on the job. If it's a contract, it's real short, they probably won't do that. If it's a really long, if you're going to be a full-time employee and there's a lot to learn, do they offer training? Do they have training programs? Are they willing to spend money? Oftentimes, though, I find that the answer to this is usually yes, but. So you're going to get an answer, and almost all companies have training, but some of them will flat out say, no, we don't have training, you just have to do it on your own. This is a good thing, though, because it depends on whether or not you need training or want training, whether or not you want to work there. Some companies offer tons of it, some offer none whatsoever. So that's why it's number 7. Number 6. This is something I ask a lot. I usually ask, is this kind of a friendly environment? Is there a support for me? When I come to a point and I have to ask a question, who do I go to? Are there answers for me? Because any company you work at, you're going to have questions. You're going to have tons of them because you've never worked there before. You don't know anything about that company. And if the answer is, really, you're kind of on your own, that's going to be a harder job rather than, well, you're going to be on a team of 6 developers and there's always somebody around to help you. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I've been at places where people were reluctant to help me and the job was very difficult because they were not nice. And I've been places where I'm at right now, people are super helpful. They're super nice. They have a structure in place for new hire people. How am I going to get started? How am I going to get ramped up? Where am I going to go to for questions? That's what that question is about. And you should be able to read their faces, whether or not they're honest in the interview. They also may not be honest because remember, their manager might be sitting there. And the person interviewing you might be asking you questions and they can't be fully honest. They can't sit there and say, oh, by the way, I really don't like this job and you should not work here. They can't say that, but you're going to have to read their faces. And if they look around at each other and like, if they look around and they can't answer the question straight, you've got your answer, right? That's the point of asking questions. They may not be honest, but you can look at their faces and get answers from those as well. Your intuition is almost always right, as I found. When I'm in an interview and my intuition says that the people here are not happy and it's discombobulated and it's disorganized, my intuition is usually right. And yours is too. Okay, before we get to number 5, I'm going to insert my commercial right here. I get a little bit of commission from pluralsight.com. It is an online training facility. You go to pluralsight.com, click on the link below. I get a little bit of commission. It's free to sign up. You get a free 45-day trial. If you sign up, you get all these videos. Go to pluralsight.com, type in Type in what you want to know. Type in C#, type in SQL, type in SQL Server, type in Amazon Web Services. See what classes they offer. Go to the link, click on it, and sign up. And I appreciate it if you do. That's my commercial. Now we're going to move on to number 5. Number 5 question. This is an important one. Ask about the team size that you're going to be on. How big is it? How many people? How does the team size structured? How are requirements gathered? Ask if there is a business analyst. How do you know how to do your work? That's the question. So am I going to be on a team of 20 people or a team of 2? That makes a big difference. Do you want to work on big teams or small teams? Ask about your team size. Also ask about if they have a business analyst, because a business analyst will do a job for you that you don't want to do as a programmer, and that is gather requirements from the business. That is a job. It is a job to go to the business and say, what do you want? And if the business analyst is not there, that job is yours. I quit my last job, basically my last contract, because I was a business analyst and I was a coder and I was a technical guy. I do not want to be a business analyst. You do not want to be the guy that goes out and gathers requirements unless you are the guy that is a business analyst, or the girl. Most business analysts are women for some reason. I don't know why, but do you want to do the BA work, or do they have one for you? Ask that question. What are the teams like, and how do I get my requirements? Am I the business analyst, or is there one? That's a very important question. Probably should be number 1, actually, to be honest with you. Number 4 question. This is very, very important. This has caused me to quit jobs, hate jobs, love jobs, leave them, love them, everything. Is what I'm going to be doing new development, or is it maintenance on old code? Am I going to be building something new, or am I going to be working on some old code that somebody else wrote? I will tell you right now, new code that you write is way more interesting and good than working on someone else's bad code. Always assume that if you're working on old code, you're doing maintenance, and it's very difficult work to do. It is way more difficult to work on old code because you got to take it, figure out what they were doing, and it might be bad, by the way, and you've got to fix it in a way such that it doesn't break. But if you're building your own thing, you can make sure it's new. You know exactly what you're doing. You can build it the right way and get it working. It's a night and day. Doing maintenance work on old code and building your own thing is night and day. That question is super important. Ask if you're going to be doing new development or working on old stuff. Right there, dude. Click like right now and hit the alert button. Hit subscribe, because I just gave you a huge nugget. Huge. So, thank you. Anyway, number 3. The question is, what levels will I be working at within the company? Now, as you know, there are all kinds of jobs. There's back-end DBA work, there's middle tier code work, business work, and there's front-end UI work. There's also DevOps. There's all kinds of work. But you need to get an idea. Ask them, am I going to be full stack? That means I got to know everything. Do you got to know everything, or just one thing? Are you just going to be building HTML pages and handing them off? Are you going to be doing just administration work? Or are you going to be doing everything? Now, what you really want to do as a senior developer is you want to be doing everything. You want to be back-end, front-end, operations, web services, APIs. You want to be doing everything. That's the highly skilled DevOps type person is going to be doing both coding, C#, whatever, Python, Java script one day. You're going to be doing Node. You're going to be doing Amazon Web Services. But you need to know that, and you need to ask that. Where are you going to be working day to day? I've worked at companies where I was only UI. I've worked at companies where I was only middle tier, and I've worked at companies where I spent a lot of time in databases. You need to know where you're going to be spending your time and whether or not you want to be there, okay? Ask the question, where are you going to be from day to day? And hopefully the answer is everywhere. Now I'm getting to the point where I wish I hadn't ranked these, because a lot of these are, even though it's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 all the way to 1, they should really coexist. They're almost equal. But I'm going to go ahead and say, I hate to rank it as a number 2 or 1, but this is a very important question. What is your methodology in how you do programming? And that means, are you waterfall or agile, or do you just wing it every day? So let me describe You need to get an answer on that question. What is your methodology, programming methodology? So waterfall is this thing where you basically you gather your requirements, say in January, and you hope to release in June, and you just work and you work and you work and you work all January, February, March, April, May, and then on June you release everything. Bam, it's all out there and you just hope it's good. That's called waterfall. I don't know why. It's a stupid word. But waterfall really means really long projects, okay? Agile is a serious methodology where you do lots of sprints. You do 2 weeks and then you show what you did. You do 2 weeks, you show what you did. You do 2 weeks. And that way you can change. If things are not right every 2 weeks, you can change and you can change and you can change and you're constantly building, constantly building. It's an exciting way to work. It's got its pros, it's got its cons. Right now I'm doing Agile and we're doing 2 week sprints and it works out pretty well actually because you only agree to work on certain things for 2 weeks and then at the end of them you're expected to be done and then you pick up two more weeks of work and you're done and you cycle through it like that. Okay. Now the other methodology is the Wild West where the manager comes in and says do this, do this, do this and you do it and then he comes in the next day and says do this, do this, do this. It's a Wild West. But you need to ask that question. What is your methodologies? And that will usually be in the job description. But you also need to ask, how long are your sprints? How much work do you do per sprint? How long do you have a Scrum Master? Do you do waterfall? How do you manage your projects over time? How long is it before you release something? All of these things will tell you your day-to-day life and give you a picture of what to do. We've gotten to number 1. And this is my own unique question that I've learned to ask. It's very important. And you come here to the right place to get this question. And as you're leaving, you're getting up, you're shaking hands, and you're in your interview, and you're going to say, can I see the environment where I'll be working? Can I just look around and see? Now, what'll happen is they'll be surprised because most people don't ask this. But they'll say, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, sure. And you want to see exactly where you're going to be working for a couple reasons. Number one, you want to see where you'll be working. So I've worked in these open space environments where there's desks everywhere and there's no walls. I've worked in cubicles where there's walls, 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 walls. I've worked in areas where I had a tiny little cubicle. I've worked in a room with just people, nothing but desks and people. Ask about your environment and ask to see it. Then you can get an idea in your mind. How noisy is it? Do you have privacy? Are people going to be watching you all the time? Is your computer hidden, or are you going to be under the microscope or something? I interviewed at a place once where they had all the desks were on the floor, and up above, all the managers were above. They were above with these big glass. They had glass so they could see down and see everyone. They could look down like that. And I got this very oppressive feeling like, and in fact, they actually worked with the prisons. That company actually worked with prisons. They sold them vending food. It's called Keith Group. They actually, and I got a bad feeling when I was there. I kind of felt like the prison yard was down below and all the guards, the wardens were up above. I got that kind of oppressive feeling, but ask to see your environment. That's something, and if you're really bold, I had somebody do this once. I heard a guy, he was interviewing, and he asked to talk to somebody. If you're really bold, you would say, can I go talk to somebody that's on the floor? Can I just go ask them some questions? And I remember my manager, I heard this guy ask that when he was interviewing. I was sitting here working. The guy asked, can I go talk to somebody? And my manager was like, yeah, I guess so. I guess you can. And so he went and he sat down with somebody during the interview that didn't even know they were coming and said, what do you think about here? Do you like working here? What do you think? If you're really bold, ask to talk to somebody there that's not in the interview. Now that's a hard thing to do, but you will get an answer. If you will sit with somebody and say, hey man, how do you feel? Do you like working here? You will get a reading in their eyes. Whether or not they say they like it or not, you can look in their eyes and see whether they do. All right, guys, that was my top 10 list. I hope you liked it. It's really hard to really rank these questions because 1 could go to 10, 10 could go to 1, so don't be too harsh on the ranking of these. Just get an idea of these questions and think about them and how you're going to ask them. Remember, pluralsight.com, click on the link below, There's great training there. Online training is the way to go. If you're not in school, if you're not in college, if you're not in a training program, a vocational school, if you're not in a boot camp, then the online training is the way to go. All right, thank you.